Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Stardust Show, powered by Radio Works World. I have the unique privilege of introducing you tonight, my co-host, Tony. Over to you.
Hello, how are you, Marina?
I'm so excited being here because I know you are going to share your stardust. You are going to tell us everything you know about relationships. And you know what? There are hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs who lead their life with purpose and yet they are alone. Why is happening? Why entrepreneurs have that void when they dedicate themselves to their purpose? They are people, men and women on a mission, and yet they go back home and they're alone.
There are many levels of loneliness, and as entrepreneurs, we give ourselves the permission to actually do some great things in life. But unfortunately, at times, we also are surrounded by environment or people who actually do not share our vision, do not share our thoughts, do not share our beliefs. And therefore, we tend to start to isolate ourselves from the very same people we love, people who actually could potentially benefit from our visions or for the work that we do globally. But usually it's also because of the relationship we end up having with ourselves, where we perceive that we are in this space of not being listened to or heard or not being understood of why we do what we do.
So, how could you make somebody understand what are you about?
Well, first thing is we don't have to make other people understand what we do. The first thing is actually being able to share transparently with passion, with love, your vision. And most entrepreneurs find it very difficult to be able to articulate with words what they're about. So therefore, people around them, they can't really understand them, what they're doing and why they do what they do. So I think the first thing is about really starting sharing transparently without the need other people to understand you, what you're doing and why you're doing what you do for yourself, for the people you love, for your business, for humanity. So when you have something like your calling and you're listening to that and you become extremely authentic with yourself and you're not outside your comfort zone, you can actually inspire a lot of people just by being loving and just by, sharing why you do what you do. For instance, the reason I'm on this mission to inspire 1 billion people globally, because I believe with all of my heart that if billion people around the world were to learn what I've learned in the last 47 years, I believe our world will improve tremendously in every area of life, alleviating a lot of things like poverty and having like different class systems and monetary problems, racial problems, and all the problems that we currently experience in the world. So I believe the intelligence it's there within every human being. And for me as a teacher and somebody who goes around the world and inspires a lot of people, it's about raising the level of awareness that this intelligence runs in every human being, no matter what your background is, no matter what your education is. Now, when you start awakening that intelligence from within the self, people start feeling inspired to bring their gifts, their creation, their innovation to the world and make a difference and resolve specific problems according to the credibility they have.
So, coming back to relationships, the relationships you create with others, the relationships you create with people you love, with people you invested in, and with total strangers, what do you think is that makes you allow yourself, that gives you the courage to share love with total strangers?
First of all, it's when you see every human being as equal to you, meaning you don't see labels, you don't see jobs, you don't see what clothes they wear, what religion they come from, what place on the planet they come from. And you approach people with curiosity, like you engage that curious child who comes into this world and learns new things. Now, everybody in the world loves to be curious. Now, when people ask you a question, and if you take your barriers down and you allow the other person from curious eyes to discover things about you, you can engage in most amazing conversations with people without even knowing anything about them. But when you approach people with judgment and you have this preconceived idea about what this person is about, people are more likely to close down on you. So it requires a masterful skill for being able to, in yourself, first of all, work on yourself to dissolve those polarizations that we get to create over a period of time from the moment we've been born, and whether we were raised in one culture, one system, education system, with people, with adversity, it does not matter. But we tend to build so many different ideas and beliefs and values that we hold dear to our heart. And then when somebody challenges us, we shut down. Now, if we move to a new conscious shift, we can actually open up and share transparently, even when somebody challenges our values. Because one way is to look at it as challenging your values. On the other hand, look at it as awakening those values within yourself. And when you start seeing those things within yourself that you judge outwardly, you start owning them. And when you start owning them, then you can have a massive communication channel between two people that they never met each other. So really, when we judge ourselves, we judge other people. So when you raise your vibration to the one of love and above, you start to equilibrate many of the skewed perceptions that we built about the world outside of us. So you become in flow, in harmony with the world, and you become in flow, in harmony with other people. So you can open up really most amazing relationship and build that relationship where information can flow. Simply, if I use a metaphor, I can take my mobile phone and everybody can take their mobile phone around the world. And mobile phone, the moment you switch it on, it connects to another network. Now, because the networks already have a trustworthy relationship, it enables us to communicate anywhere in the world. Now, the same thing in relationship. When you are trustworthy in yourself and you know you have this quality and you transparently communicate that with other people and you start building this trust, people are more likely to open up to you and say, share with you, whether it's business, whether it's personal, whether it's relationship, or whatever they may want to share with you. But if trust is not there, if people fear you, there'll be never a proper relationship in there. It will be like masked.
So, if I understand this correctly, when you create a relationship with somebody else and you are not ready to have a good relationship with yourself, to be kind to yourself, it will be very hard, almost like a tall order, to be kind to somebody else. And it's almost like somebody who is judging somebody else is actually telling their own story. They've been hurt and they've been so badly hurt that it's really hard to back up, to come again into a place where there is love, there is understanding, there is empathy. So tell us, Tony, what is your one experience that made you decide that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be the ambassador of peace and inner peace, and I'm going to help people create better life-lasting relationship with themselves and others?
Marina, that's a very beautiful question. And the truth is, there have been many, many experiences that they all gave me the same feedback, which means doing the work that I do to inspire as many people around the world to elevate their consciousness and upgrade their inner system so they are in peace with themselves. And when you're in peace with yourself, you can actually create peace, global peace, and you can create peace with other people. So what really inspired me, first of all, it's, I'm not sure if you know my story. I wrote about it in both of my books, A Path to Wisdom and #Loneliness. I wrote about being in a civil war for almost 14 months. And being in a civil war in a country where I loved and I grew up, and suddenly as a teenager, you're taken away from school and trained to kill. You start to question life and you start to question everything about life. And having experienced so much adversity in war, and you can imagine what happens in war, and then ending up being homeless on the streets of London with, I could not speak English, I had no family, I had no friends, I had no roof over my head, and I had no education. I was just taken away from education, and I had to fight. I was forced to fight the very same people I love. So when you go through those almost like heaven and earth experiences, they are so different. It makes you question everything about you. It makes you question everything about life. It makes you question about everything you believe. It makes you question everything that nobody ever asked you. And when you go through that, our default state of being is imbalance. Meaning when we come as children into this world, we are clean slate and we have no beliefs, no values. It's just like everybody loves a baby. And what happens over a period of time, we get to have so many injected values and beliefs, and we tend to program our inner being in a way to see the world from imbalanced perspective. Now, a lot of people in the world speak about love, but if you look at the way they see the world, and if you look at their perception behind that and their experiences, they're actually completely outside of that, what true love means. Because most people have this idea that love is only when somebody supports you, but not when it challenges you. And this is where the problem in the world is, where we do not see the full, complete picture with complete awareness, with our perceptions, with our beliefs, and with our values, but we have filters. And the more we do our inner work, the more those filters start disappearing and we become transparent with other people. As if almost like this light comes out of you and people literally are magnetized by you being with them.
Wow, so beautiful. And just to go back a little bit, so if I were with you a couple of years ago, time is flying, and I am a migrant woman myself, and you are a migrant man, and it's not always about your geographical location. It's always about going from where you are to where you belong, and it's such a tall order because there is no map, there is no sat nav, there is no guidance, there is nothing to help or support your transformational change, to take you from where you are to where you want to be. And most of the time people don't even know where they want to be, because it's almost like when you are hit by a civil war, it's almost like you have two options: die or be born again. So it's not as if you can carry any cultural baggage with you, or you really have to unlearn everything you knew to be able to learn the survival of life and the rules of engagement. And you were barefoot, you're homeless, and now look at you you inspire. You are a limitless source of good, and you inspire so many people around the world. It's almost like you remove all barriers, forget about migrating from one place to another, from one situation to another, from one moment to the next one. It's almost like defeating the logic. There is no logic on what is happening in your life. You are limitless, and yet not long ago you were barefoot, not knowing anyone, scared, shocked, and look at you now. So growing into the person you are now, who can deliver your life purpose, it's been a tough journey. It's been not challenging, because challenging is an understatement. You grew your own wings. That's why you had nothing in between. So it was no parachute, no airplane, nothing. So tell me how it feels to have your own wings.
It feels free, Marina. It's if you could imagine having your own wings and to be able to fly wherever you want at will, that's how it truly feels. But also feels I feel very blessed and content, first of all, that I have another breath. And for me, it comes from that place of a deep gratitude for life, meaning everything around you, the things that you like and the things you don't like. So the challenge for most people is being grateful for the things that they do not like. In my experience and in the shifts that I have gone through for the last 27 years, there have been so many challenges that it's almost like this, not just relief, but I would say a deep feeling of being content and being grateful and being in this space of inner peace, that what many people around the world now invite me to either speak or inspire them or coach them, work with their children, with their families, with leaders. I just did a talk at the UN about the importance of inner peace for global peace. And I've been interviewed by Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy on stations around the world. So it feels very blessed when I reflect back that 27 years ago, I went through all of those things and so much more. I mean, I could just write a book about being homeless for 6 months and what it feels like as a teenager with nobody in your life and the desperation behind that. And not only from a perspective of being challenged when it comes to food, clean water, clothes, and roof over our head, but actually totally isolated, migrating in a place I knew nothing about. It's sometimes it's surreal when I watch myself in the mirror and ask myself how is possible for any of us in the world who going through those massive shifts to survive. And that's also what inspires me to really write more and create more products and services to help people understand that no matter where you are, no matter where you come from, no matter who you are, there's tremendous wisdom and intelligence embedded in you. And if you pay attention to it, and if you listen to it, and if you consistently invest in yourself, in your personal development, spiritual development, business development, there's no limit to what is possible for you. You are an infinite being by nature. It's not something you need to learn. It's you've been there infinite times in through different lives in your life. And if you are to listen to that and start to really aligning your inner life with universal principles of life, you start to become in flow with life, not against life. And most people in the world, they go against life, and therefore they're not creating the things that they want in their life, whether it's material wealth, whether it's business, relationship, travel around the world, whatever it might be that they want in their life. If people they want something and they're not getting it because there's a resistance inside of themselves. So when I created a path to wisdom, I wanted to merge my scientific background and 30 years of studying science, quantum physics, mathematics, and biology, and many different, I would say, disciplines. And I wanted to bridge that with technology, spirituality, healing, psychology, and the different methods that I learned into one tool, and to give people this self-upgrade tool that can upgrade themselves. And this is what, when I wrote Path to Wisdom, I wrote 3 major problems that every human being in the world has, which is being out of balance, not having perfect health, and not having inner peace. Now, when you have balance, when you have great health, perfect health, and have inner peace, wherever you go, you become extremely present with life. And when you are present with life, you create most amazing opportunities, and you attract most amazing people and opportunities that almost like create the path for the next level of growth you desire in your life. And this is the way, when the old saying says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And consistently through my life, I worked very hard. And I worked sometimes many jobs to be able to afford my teachers to help me grow. Because you can learn by your own, for sure, you can read books, go to seminars. But what I found in my own personal journey, the greatest jump and quantum leap I did when I was working with some of the top experts in the world, such as Dr. John DeMartini, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, and all these amazing people that helped me really become now a teacher who goes around the world and help the very same people who helped me. So I think it's about really investing in yourself and understanding that the investment in yourself is the greatest investment one will ever make in their lifetime.
So investing in yourself is almost, to translate this for our listeners, is say yes to yourself, learn to say no to others, to people and situation and facts and elements that are not supporting your life purpose. And quite rightly, you said it a few times in such a beautiful way, that life is not about what other people are giving you or taking away from you. Life is about what you do about what other people are giving you or taking away from you. And look at yourself. So you had to decide that if you want to survive and you want to empower yourself and you want to awaken yourself to a new dimension of your own very existence, the only way is to develop yourself, to grow into that person who can, into that person who understands others, who understands tragedy, who understands happiness, who understands other people's emotions. So I know we at the Stardust Show, we talk a lot about emotional intelligence as being the wave to inner greatness. So tell us more about your view on emotional intelligence.
Well, emotional intelligence plays a massive part in putting us on a path to our greatness. Reason being, it's a lot of people, they use the term emotional intelligence, but within the self, they don't have mastery of their emotions. Meaning, whenever they get challenged, your entire body responds to it. whether it's through anger, frustration, and other disempowered emotions. Now, when we learn to listen to the body, emotions is like the GPS system and the guiding systems that brings us back into our heart. But majority of the people, they have so much noise in the body, it becomes very difficult for people to listen to that emotional intelligence that the body by design has. Or there might be other voices that direct them to listen to something else and not to their true authentic emotion that is trying to communicate to them to bring them back into balance. Now, the 25 steps that I put together into a methodology, the TJS evolutionary method, alarm, it's about really understanding how our body has this most sophisticated mechanism that I call alarm, that alarms us every time we are not listening to it. Every time we put our body into danger, our body communicates to us. But majority of us, 99.9% of people in the world, they almost stopped listening to that true intelligence that the body has. And therefore, it becomes extremely numb to external circumstances. So majority of the voices that the body is giving you, we tend to suppress them until someone comes into your life and start unraveling what's behind the behaviors, what's behind your life problems when you get to the root cause. And the root cause is usually at some point, whenever the problem started, people did not listen to it. So for me, emotional intelligence starts out by starting that awareness, having that awareness in any moment in time of whether you are aligned to your true authentic self and to your vision, mission, purpose, and calling, or you're outside of it. You know, a lot of people say, I am, but then when you look into their life around them, they're not. So for me, it's about also understanding the lies and the exaggerations we tell ourselves. Sometimes we minimize, or sometimes we make ourselves to be something we're not. So we're so used to telling ourselves lies that those lies in time become the truth that we think it is the truth. So emotional intelligence started really becoming aware of the internal communication that you have with your body, and whether you are listening to that, whether you're acknowledging that, whether you're taking the next steps and the actions for you to be congruent with your highest values, with your beliefs, with the mission that you want to bring into this world, the way you connect and have a relationship with everybody, not just the people that you feel are supporting you. But when you have that beautiful connection with yourself, you will have connection with everybody. So there's not separation between people who challenge you or people who support you. But in simply, you are in flow with everybody, and you don't see people like you need to get rid of people from your life because they're damaging you. You simply see people as part of this GPRS system that guiding you to be in your heart.
So beautiful. So inner peace. Yesterday we celebrated International Peace Day, and you know,
Yeah.
I was witnessing something, not necessarily about the world at large, but about human condition and about what people do to create a relationship with themselves before they dare go out there and create a relationship with other people. Doesn't matter where they're coming from. In my opinion, everybody, each one of us is coming from stardust, and every single atom in your left hand, in your left leg or right hand is coming from a different star. So the question is, if we are all coming from the same place, from stardust, was really something astronomical, mega had to happen. Two big stars had to collide to create the supernova for you to become, for stardust to start sharing, and for you to be created from stardust. It's a scientific fact. What are the chances for people to forget we are all coming from the same place? And
Well,
what are the chances for people to remember that each one of us is stardust? So the person in front of you is not less than you, is not better than you, is not somebody you could look down on it unless you want to lift them up.
A very beautiful question, and it's very important for all of us to remind ourselves that we are one. So what you're talking about is the oneness paradigm, which I'm also ambassador for. And when we actually do our inner work, it happens by default that in the eyes of every human being you encounter, you see that stardust and you see that love and you see that oneness paradigm. So when you are one with everyone around you, that is the highest state of achievement, of enlightenment on a physical world. Many people in the world find it difficult to come to that space of awareness where basically you see the world like that. It's taken me 47 years to do that. And I still consistently work on myself to make sure that anything that comes up as new is neutralized, and I see life from a place of equanimity and from a place of love and balance. Now, the more we do that, the more we can develop the habit to neutralize any judgments, any fear, and any control that we tend to have outside of ourselves. Because those three things is the three most problematic things that most every human being has. When we try to control people outside of us, how do they think, how do they behave, and what they need to do. When we fear them because they either somebody who we judge or somebody we want to control. And also when we actually control them. So when we look at those mechanisms of why we have them, they are mechanisms which basically we build to protect ourselves. So when we go through those animalistic awareness of who we are and we step into our superconscious brain, those animalistic behaviors and coping mechanisms become irrelevant anymore because you're operating from a higher vibration of love and above. And when you do that, you do see everybody as a stardust, and you do appreciate every human being, no matter where they are, what level of awareness they are, as part of the stardust, not as something which is separate. So for me, everybody I see, no matter where they are in their life, I see them just another mirror of myself. And I become extremely curious to see how would I be in those shoes. And everyone who comes into my presence, I look at myself and say, oh my God, this is just another version of me. And how do I integrate that with myself? And when you become that curious, you can actually almost embody other people's personalities and traits if they were your own, whether they're good or bad. But unfortunately, because the way the society in general is set up, we are consistently programmed to separate and to segregate and to judge things outside of ourselves when they challenge us. But we're not looking at why the things are like that. So for instance, if we look at some of the events that most people judge, we're not looking at what caused the event in the first place. We're looking at the effect of the event. And then we get blinded because majority of the people, even the media, portrays one-sided story. But we all know a coin has two sides, and we all know every perception has two sides, and the brain is set up like that. So when we look at any picture, any situation with complete awareness, then we see everybody with that stardust, and we don't see any more separation, but we simply experience love between one another. Over to you.
Wow, Tony. Yes, so I know I've been interviewed on TV a couple of times, and I was talking about Stardust, and I remember one of the lady who was interviewing me said, "Oh my God, you are talking of Stardust, about Stardust on national television." But I thought Stardust is who you are. Stardust is your genius. Stardust is that gift that you've been given at birth. Is that abundant place, that you have the moral duty to develop it and make it a flow, make it a gift, wrap it up and master it, give it back to the world, pay it forward. And most of the time I'm thinking, I don't know, it's me, or I maybe I don't understand. I don't understand why people are so angry, and I don't understand what the cause of it all is internally, because everybody is being given so many chances, and life is basically a karmic coin. On one side is your past with everything that had happened to you, definitely for you, and on the other side is your vision, all the lessons you learn from your past, to turn it into a solution to somebody else's struggle. And unless you deliver the second part of the coin, the vision you have in your mind, unless you turn it into a reality, nobody will ever access your stardust. Nobody will ever understand your wisdom, your genius. Nobody will ever benefit from your karmic coin, from your sovereign. So I just wonder, what is your vision? I understand that your past has been helping you to become this extraordinary human being, this limitless awareness, this drop of happiness. And everywhere you go, you are contagious. You make people think better. You make people think for themselves. So what is your vision, Tony?
My vision is really to awaken this wisdom in the hearts of 1 billion people and educate as many people to awaken this beautiful intelligence that we are all born with. And when you say stardust, for me it's the same language explained in a different ways, because if we look at the sky, okay, and it's a perfect black pitch night and we see all those beautiful stars, billions of stars all shining and all creating the experience of us watching the stars. Now imagine if we as people created that around the world. Okay, imagine the shifts in consciousness, and imagine how fast the planet will change. Imagine how fast the problems with, whether it's environmental problems, whether it's like fuel problems, whether it's poverty problems, business problems, finance problems, relationship problems, hatred, nationalism, racism, all of those problems. Imagine that we become like those stars, that we are individual and shine our light, yet we share the same dark space. Okay? So we're not really in confrontation with one another, but we are light beings that shines for one another. And that's what my mission is, to really awaken this wisdom and people step into their true heart energy and wisdom. And when you are in that space, it's the most beautiful, healing, loving, embracing space. And as you said, wherever I go, it is contagious, because I see people, they want to be around me 24 hours. So the moment they get exposed to this work, and most of my clients, basically, the moment they start working this, they want to be in this energy 24/7. And literally, I've had people approaching me saying, how do we create a bottle out of you? How can we create almost like this perfume that people can have and really bring this love and energy within themselves? So wherever they go, they share that. And for me, it's really doing that inner work when you start to integrate your true being, your true authentic being. And your true authentic being is so powerful that whoever comes in your presence, they get inspired. And this is where I know that you are on the right track when you create those effects in people. And yes, we all have our own inner wisdom. And yes, we are all stardust in our own way. But I believe that bringing that together will resolve some of the most global challenges we as humanity are facing. And I truly believe in the power of love and the power of the light. And the phrase that I use with people, it's when they have fears, when they have those insecurities about themselves, or fears around other people, whether it's terrorism, whether it's war and everything else. I remind them that even through science, when we put the light next to the dark, when the dark approaches the light, it illuminates. So therefore, if we maintain our true, authentic self, vibration, and love, and we remain in that space, anything that approaches us naturally will be illuminated into light, into love, into gratitude, into joy.
Tony, I remember you remind me of myself. 3 years ago, when I went to South Africa and I was speaking at a conference, I had a lady who came to me and she said, Marina, what you do? I said, I don't know. I just need to go places. I need to see people. I need to share stardust. And she said, you brought a lot of light on a very dark sky. So I always remember that, and I always think to myself, what gives me the right not to share my stardust? It's almost like a moral crime. And you've been nominated for the Stardust Award, which is happening in London on mid-November. And I'm so humbled that you accepted the nomination and you are going to be there. We are going to finally meet on the red carpet, and you are going to share with us your own Stardust. And you know what? I will have a lot of
Which day is in November?
November 18, 19. Is happening at the Royal Horse Guard Hotel in central London. And we've
When
been
is
there
it?
last year,
When
18
is
and
it?
19. 18 and 19 of November.
I will have to disappoint you because reason being, I'm asked to be somewhere else. I'll be in Miami.
I will be in Miami. Of course, I don't blame you. I understand Miami very well. I've been there a few times. So why would you be in London in
Yes, I
November?
will be in America for 3 weeks because I'm doing some work in America with clients
Yes.
and I have some speaking engagements. So during that period, I'll just open the diary. That's why I thought if it's end of November, then I'll be back in London on the 27th. But anything up to
Yes.
the 26th, my diary is fully booked from 1st of November.
Okay. So anyway, so you'll be with us perhaps via
In spirit? In spirit?
definitely in spirit, but you could be on the big screen. So I'm sure we'll
Absolutely.
wait.
Yeah.
This is third millennium. This is 2017. So it's no
I
way.
can go live. Correct. Yes, I can go live.
So tell us what is, if you had a magic wand, what would you change?
The magic wand for me, what would do, it's being able to really, as I said throughout this interview, it's awakening this amazing wisdom in every human being, because when you awaken that, everything else changes and everything else becomes in flow with life. And for me, that is the magic that basically, when you are that stardust, when you are that star, no longer you have the need to compete, no longer you have the need to compare yourself, no longer you have the fear of whether you have money, you don't have money, no longer you are driven to impress or to almost like have this unconscious desire to be accepted for who you are, or to share love, or to want to change anything. For me, in true grace, we accept life as it is rather than sort of as we wanted to see it with our own eyes. So for me, it's about bringing that awareness in people, that basically life as it is, if we cannot appreciate life as it is in this moment, there's no way we can actually change your life as it is in 10 years or 15 years. So most people focus on what changes they want to see and the problems they want to resolve. But I always remind people, just be humbled and love life as it is in this moment, because everything that exists, it is in this moment. So the past and the future starts from this moment. So the only common denominator between the past and the future is the moment. So for me, it's about bringing people, helping them become this present with life, present with another human being. Like I'm being present with you, listening to your ear and every sound that you make, and just being present with that, and anybody who may be live on this show listening to us. So I've literally become present with whoever I am. So my magic wand will really create this activation of this wisdom in the hearts of humanity. And I know with that, one thing we would change in our planet, first of all, we will not create segregation, create borders, and create systems in place to control and fear one another. But instead, we move into collaboration, co-creation, co-loving, and really elevate our planet together. And if I have this magic wand, I would love to literally put a stop to creating weapons to kill one another. Because there's nothing conscious about any of us in the world when behind we fear one another and we create weapons to kill one another. And on top of that, to actually damage the very same mother that keeps us all together, which is Mother Earth. So for me, bringing people to that awareness, to have this deep gratitude for one another, for the beauty of life as it is, would be the best thing I would do with that magic wand.
Wow. It's a privilege to listen to you, Tony. And I know for most people, inner peace is something that is very private. They don't have the courage to talk about, to bring it out into the outer reality. And most people will bury that. They will alienate themselves, and they will never have the courage to dare to share inner peace, to teach inner peace, to tell people, look, inner peace is an inside job. It's nothing I can do about it. It's your turn to awaken yourself to the beautiful human being you are, to the magical human being you are, to the fact that the miracle you've been waiting for, it's you. You are the miracle. You are here already. What are you waiting for? And I know time is running out. It's almost an hour since we started, but I would love to thank you from my heart for being here tonight, for sharing with our listeners your wisdom, your experiences, and for embracing your truth. Because unless you embrace your own truth, you can't really ask others to do the same. And unless you endorse your own vision, there's nobody there to know about it. And I know you know this already, but I'm going to say it to you again. Tony, you are stardust. From both of us, until next time, just remember, share your stardust. You have plenty. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you, Marina.